Hello, everyone. Welcome to our call with George Cow. Today, we're going to be talking about how to create really simple but effective partnerships in business. And this is something I talk about a lot under the heading of hub marketing. But this is where we're going to get very specific about it. I talk about it a lot at a broader, more theoretical level. And George is somebody who I know is very adroit. I know from personal experience in partnerships, he and I have done in terms of how to, the nuts and bolts, how to make these things work. So many entrepreneurs I know are fundamentally, while I readjust this here, are fundamentally solopreneurs, trying to do everything alone, trying to do everything by themselves. And yet there's so much more that can be accomplished in partnership, in working with people. Both in terms of the number of people you reach, the kinds of people you reach, everything gets so much easier at this level. But of course, there's a lot of questions. How do you even approach somebody? What would you offer them? What could these partnerships even look like? And there's a lot of, it's not hard to get this right, but there's a lot of ways to screw it up. So anyways, George is somebody I've worked with for a number of years now, and is one of my favorite people to work with because he always makes it so easy for me on my end. God bless him. It's funny, George, you get a kick out of this. I was interviewed the other day for this. It's a podcast blog, Dr. Mark Walsh, or I can't remember his name. But he has a podcast about online summits. That's what it was. And he was asking me about my experience because, I know you have too, been interviewed on these online summits. And what came out of me is I said, just the frustration of people making me work too hard. And I said, just imagine that everyone you want to interview for your online summit is on the edge of a nervous breakdown. Just imagine that they're about to snap, from burnout and overwhelm, and just treat them like that. Treat them like they're just right on the edge of sanity because of doing too much work. Because if you do that, the truth is a lot of them probably aren't that far away. They're just taking on so much, and the world's just so crazy anyways.
Yeah.
So when somebody approaches you in such a way that it's in that kind of way, it feels just wonderful because you feel so seen. Anyways, that's the way that George has always approached me, and which I'm immensely grateful for. So anyways, I don't want to talk too much. Mostly this is going to be George's show, but welcome everyone to this. Those doing a Facebook Live now. This little session with George Cowell. He's going to share some of his thoughts. You'll have some questions, and then if you'd like to work with George, which I would highly recommend. I've sent so many of my clients to work with George, and they just all rave and come back thrilled. I've never had anyone say, George that was no good." So George, welcome.
Thank you. I really appreciate you taking the time to do this. Speaking of making it easy for Tad, I was just emailing with him, a half hour ago, and I said, hey, if you want, I could just do this, or of course, I'd love to have you show up. Either way, it's just another example that I just try to make it as easy as possible for my hub marketing partners. And speaking of which, like this is an actual example of hub marketing, right? Like some of you, maybe a lot of you, have never heard about me before, and you of course follow Tad and the great work that he does. So when Tad says, hey, check out this person, you're much more likely to pay attention and give that person the benefit of the doubt, essentially. So that's essentially what hub marketing or collaborations. I'm going to use, actually, I'm really curious, how many of you have heard of hub marketing? Probably because Tad actually, I think, coined that term. How many of you have heard of hub marketing? Just go ahead and chat below if you don't mind. And if you know a little something about it, you could type a few words, what you think it means. I'm sure there are specifics about what hub marketing is versus a joint venture versus a collab, but I'm going to be just really simple and put it all into one thing. I call it collaborations, but we can call it whatever we want. Partnerships is another term. Sometimes I forget to use that term. And sometimes I don't use the word partnerships because partnerships sounds like such a big deal, right?
Mm,
It's like
mm.
you're marrying someone, like
Interesting.
there's going to be contracts upon contracts. And, to me, it's just, hey, Tad, you want to do a call for your people on this thing? All right. Yeah, that sounds like something valuable. Okay. It can be as simple as that. So this is something that I basically want all of you who are here. Obviously, you're watching this because you're interested in this potential of collaborations. I hope that you will make it into a regular ongoing thing in your business.
Mm.
And by the way, if you're here, whether you're live or watching later, please feel free to comment below if you have any questions about collaborations or hub marketing. For a couple, like in the first, I'll just give you some context before we get into any specifics. The reason why I'm such a believer in it, and Tad as well. Well, in the first couple of years of my business, when I had no audience, and I know some of you might just be kind of getting going, you no audience or a small audience. In the beginning, I had no audience. When I came into my industry, which is social media, training, that kind of stuff, none of my friends and family were in that audience or in that industry. None of them were even interested in what I was doing. So I started out without the benefit of having known people like Tad, right? So I started out with nothing, no audience. And the way I built up to a full-time business by the end of the first year,
Mm.
I was able to make a living doing this stuff without having to go get a job again. Now, it wasn't a lot of money by the end of the first year, but it was enough to live in San Francisco. It's not bad. So the way that I got there, I really credited probably at least 80% into collaborations. It's the work of reaching out to people like Tad. Now, he and I met because I think it was because he and I were eventually both part of a summit. Speaking of summits, one of the things that people don't do when they speak, how many of you, okay, and I want to just thank those of you who are chatting, and Dawn, Annaline, Colleen, Claudia, Xenia, Suzanne, John, PW, thank you so much. So many of you have heard of it because you've been following Tad. If you haven't yet, Tad, I've been talking a lot. Tell us what you mean by hub marketing.
Sure. And then I don't want to lose that thread you were about to say with
Yes.
the summits. So hub marketing to me is just, I didn't actually coin the term. It was Dominic Canterbury from Seattle who I got it from.
Oh, okay.
He was just a marketing guy, though he's not in that game anymore. But to me, the visual is like, if you have a wheel, and then there's the hub in the center. There's that part where all the spokes connect, or like nodes in a network. It was that kind of thing, and just acknowledging that there are certain people in every scene that there is, in the scene of the kind of people you're trying to reach, who are very well connected to and very well respected by all these people in the scene. And that if you get their endorsement, well, that would make a big difference. And of course, it's a bit broader than that, because hubs can also be publications online or offline. It could be groups that people are a part of. It could be cafes they go to, neighborhoods they live in. It could be complementary businesses, nonprofits that serve them, events they could. There's all sorts of things. They all have in common this idea that there's a place where you can find them. And no matter what the hub is, there's almost always a person connected with it. So if you sell Red Bull, terrible drink, and you want to sell it to people at the clubs, well, then the club is just a building. That's just an edifice, and you can't sell to that. But what you could do is reach out to the DJs, which is what Red Bull did. And they actually held a summit for DJs. They got all these DJs together, and they just said, come. They got, I think it was like a high school they used. People just like DJs literally in sleeping bags, but they brought in some of the top DJs in the world and had all this and gave them all Red Bull. So that's an example. Within the club, there's the hub in the club, which is the DJ. So no matter what it is, an event, a group, there's somebody connected, or who's playing a central role in that, and your capacity to, talk to them and see if there might be a fit and collaborate with them in some way does an immense amount. Just maybe the very short version of this is, to me, there's 3 levels of marketing. There's a cold, a warm, and a hot level. The cold level is just approaching strangers. And this, you put in 10 units of effort, you get 1 unit reward. It's so terrible. This is cold calling, random networking events. The warm level is what we're talking about today, is this hub marketing of this, just approaching the people who might be connected to your people already, seeing if they're open to collaboration. And the hot level is where you've become the hub. But how do you get to that level? Through the warm level. So to me, the fundamental thing is, as much as you can, cut the cold level. This cold approaching people to be clients is very, very difficult and ultimately draining. But if you start with a warm level and you work that, eventually you just kind of, over time, just by sticking around long enough, you can get to the hot level. So that's, to me, the big context of what we're going for.
That's a great way of describing it. And I love that you have props or you'll be able to hold something up. That's cool. So yeah, the way I met Tad was through a hub, basically. Like he and I think this is right. And correct me if I'm wrong. If you remember a different story, I think we were both speaking on a telesummit, or we were both part of a telesummit.
Could be. I don't know.
Yeah, it was so many years ago, right? 10 years ago. But this is how I met several of my major collaborators over the years, is being part of a telesummit. This is what most people don't do, is they don't reach out to the other speakers in the telesummit. Let me ask you, all of you here, how many of you have been part of a telesummit or
You
a
mean
virtual
like
conference?
Interviewed on it or presenting?
Being interviewed, right, exactly. How many of you have been a speaker or been invited to be a speaker on a telesummit or a virtual conference? If so, let us know below. And then if not, you probably will be. As you grow your audience, you're going to probably get invitations to this kind of stuff. Colleen says yes. Suzanne says yes. So did you then research and reach out to the other speakers to say, hey, and you might not reach out to all the speakers, but the ones you feel like some connection with, like I did with Tad, I'm like, hey, I'd love to, connect and see if we can help each other. And maybe the simplest way is to, I do a webinar for your audience, you do a webinar for my audience. You talk about what you would love talking about. I love talking about what I'd love talking about. And maybe at the end of the webinar, if it feels appropriate, we could talk about the deeper work that I do, the deeper work that you do, et cetera. And so that's what I've done. Maybe I think that's how I met Tad. But recently I was just on another telesummit and I did the same thing. I started researching and reaching out. I haven't had a chance to reach out to everybody yet, but and then I have had several conversations, because one of the most credible ways to cold outreach to somebody is to say, hey, we were part of the same event.
Totally.
So
I can't believe I've never thought about that. That's just so obvious now that you say it, and I'm thinking of all the summits I was a part of. Damn it.
Yeah. Well, you could still do it, right? Like, hey, remember like 8 years ago, we were part of that. So, all right, how do we get to be invited to a telesummit? Like, how do we really get started with collaborations if you are, kind of just starting out? You start out where you are. You basically, the easiest outreach is to people who have a similar audience size as you. And this is important because if you reach out to Tad, like you have, a tiny audience, and then you reach out to Tad and say, hey, let's collaborate. And I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I think Tad would say yes only if you have a similar sized audience as him, and that makes sense to kind of do some kind of trade, because then it's a fair trade, or you have some knowledge or some expertise that Tad's audience has been asking for, that he himself doesn't provide or doesn't want to provide. Would that be right, Tad? Like, how could someone reach out to you and have you say yes? That's a
yeah, it's interesting. If somebody, that second one is definitely right. If somebody, because I get approached all the time, like, hey, you want to join our conscious business telesummit? But it's conscious marketing telesummit. But that's what I teach. Like, why would I promote other people who do exactly what I do? So if I don't see that there's any difference, but I got approached to do a telesummit on how to travel and work, that kind of laptop lifestyle. I thought, well, I don't really teach that, but I've got opinions I'd love to share. So, they were offering something different that my list could use. And certainly I've had people approach me over the years or been connected with people. Yeah, and they offer something that my people need, whether they're communicating with me or I can just see that they need it. And I don't offer it. That's been a lot of, Nancy Jetton with the work around bios,
Bios, yeah.
or Brad Morris with his, creating online home study programs, or Danny Inney with the same thing, or, et cetera, et cetera. There've been a number of these. So yeah, gosh, if you have something that you think that a hub's people need, and especially if you think they're probably aware of it, this is going to be a good fit. I would have no problem. To me, list size, regardless, I'd be happy to share it if it feels solid to me. But I just know that I'm not going to be getting much back in return, in terms of promoting me. So I would just be doing it at that point, just because it makes me look good, because it's going to help my people. That's why I'd be doing it. But in terms of more formal, it's interesting. List size actually isn't a huge thing for me. There probably are. If you gave me other scenarios, there might be ones where I'd say, okay, that would matter. But that doesn't tend to go through my mind very much. As long as I can see it's credible, it's relevant to my people, I think it's good value. Like I just remember I went to this New Age Expo, and there was a booth, and it was these people teaching how to build WordPress websites for holistic practitioners. And I couldn't believe my luck. I thought, my God, all my holistic, they all need this. So we had a great partnership for a while. It was great. And then they got into some sketchy sales tactics, and they did that to my people. And then that was the end of that, so.
Yeah. I'll say, I think Tad is one of the more generous collaborators I've ever worked with. Tad, I see you, promoting people who don't necessarily have an audience as large as yours. And that you will meet people like Tad who are willing to do that. And then there are people like me who are jerks, who will say, "What's your list size?" No, I think I'm very. I'll say this: my promotion schedule is pretty much full, because every single week I interview a client of mine. So it's like there are, I don't work 52 weeks in the year, so but 48 or 45 weeks in the year. I have people who have been in my various group programs like, oh, I want to interview that person. And all the people I interview, if you notice on Saturdays, I post a thing on my Facebook. Those are all my clients in various programs. They don't have, I don't expect them to promote me at all. So I'm just interviewing a bunch of people who don't have. So it's like my social capital is already used up by just promoting my clients. But when it comes to like people who are not my clients, right? If they approach me to promote them, and I'll say, hey, let's do a trade. What's your list size? I will ask them. And if it's, here's my suggestion. Like I will say yes to somebody who is not a client to promote them, to cross promote, if the list size is basically 50 to 200%. I think that's fair. Meaning, I have, and what is a list size? I should clarify this. How many of you have an email newsletter? Or actually, the better question is, where is your audience most of the time? Like where can you reliably reach your audience? For many of us, it's the email newsletter, email list. For others, it might be Facebook business page. Some people might be Instagram, some people might be YouTube. But the question is, when you post something, whether it's a message or an email or a video, how many people typically see it? I think that's the true list size. If someone, right, Tad, like if someone says, I've got, got 1 million people on my email list, but then it's only, or some people who say I have, 5,000 people on my email list, but their open rate is 10%. That means they really only have a list size of 500. I mean, the
Right.
practical list size is 500, because regularly they have 500 people who open their emails. So it's important to really get to that conversation, which I have with people. It's like, okay, Well, my email list is about, what, 3,000 right now, and my open rate is in the high 20s. So do the math. It's about, it's,
Hmm.
yeah, do the math on that. And also I have a Facebook audience. When I post something, usually about 600 to 1,000 people organically see it, and I can run ads to make sure thousands of my warm audience see it. And so it's like my list size is much more nuanced than most people who just says, well, I have a 10,000 person email list. Well, yes, but what's the open rate, right? So when you have these conversations, so back to the, and by the way, thank you, Suzanne, for your comment. By the way, please feel free to post your questions. I want to just pause right now because I want this to be as interactive with you as possible. Um, when you think about collaborations, where are you stuck?
Hmm.
When you think about having other hubs promote your work, what's coming up for you that you could use some guidance or encouragement around? So I'll just kind of pause there for a second while I also want to mention that one of the reasons Tad and I decided to do this is because I actually teach a 3-part course on collaborations. So, for those of you who are interested in my kind of complete training on collaborations, where I go through the different types of collaborations, how to do them, how to find people who are likely collaborators for you, what to say to them, how to track, your collaborations, all that stuff. It's a mere, $7,500 for the full course of 3 hours. No, I'm kidding. No, it's not. Yeah, no, Tad doesn't collaborate with people like that. No, the full course is $75, so it's pretty affordable. If you even get a couple of collaborations from it, I think it'll pay for itself. And Tad, of course, is one of my referral partners, and if you buy the course using Tad's link, I pay him 50%, which I love paying Tad. I think he's really worth supporting. So here's the link: georgecow.com/jvtad, georgecow.com/jv joint venture tad, TAD, all one word. That'll bring you to the course page. $75. You'll learn my full method with the organized documents and templates and all that stuff. But I really want this to be a more interactive, where I'm answering specifically your questions. So, Tad, do you want to say anything before I go on to answering some questions?
Well, the questions still seem to be coming in, but maybe you want to just outline what's in the course. You said it's 3-part, because I'm actually not familiar with the content of your course, so I'm curious myself.
Yeah, totally. So let me just share my screen real quick. So this is the course. This is the course sales page. I'll show you the course document, which kind of gives a overall outline of what the course covers. And so, so basically, I cover like my 5 main ways to collaborate, and I kind of talk through all this stuff. So this is just like summary notes, and the course itself has a lot of nuances that I go through, along with additional templates and things like that. But clarifying conversations, I feel like, is where a lot of people can start, which is like, Tad, if you and I, barely knew each other, or didn't know each other, I reached out to you, we could just have and if, let's say you and I were both starting out, like we're both small audience or no audience, we could just have a conversation, 30 minutes, where we split it up and say, hey, Tad, I know we're both, getting going in our business and want to build it. And maybe we could get together and you can practice describing your business to me, and kind of what kind of people you're looking for. And I can do the same. I call it a clarifying conversation. It's just, it's always good to practice talking about your niche and kind of, so that's kind of the first way to start out. And then product feedback, testimonials is another way. Like, hey, Tad, would you like to check out my product for free, and see if you like it, you can add a testimonial, that kind of stuff. Client bonus is another one, where it's like, hey, Tad, I know you have this program, could I attach something I usually charge for to that program, and that's additional value add, that kind of stuff. Co-interviewing is kind of like what we're doing, what I do with Tad. Hey, Tad, I interview you, you interview me, that kind of stuff, or guest blogging. And then finally, JV or joint ventures is just the simplest way is just like, hey, Tad, I've got this product. If you think it's a good fit for your audience, would you share it with your audience? I'll give you a special link, and if they buy it through that link, I'll pay you X%. That's a simplest joint venture we could talk about. And then I have additional simple collaborations, networking conversations with templates, interviewing up, like, people who have a larger audience than you, someone like Tad. I have the tracking template to how you can track collaborations. I have a whole section on how to find collaborators, including a really cool Facebook trick to find collaborators. So I'll just let you kind of YouTube. We talk about that. Telesummit searches. Less simple collaborations, expert roundups, collaborative books. Some of you have heard of this, telesummits, that kind of thing. And then 3 is logistics for collaborations. For those of you who don't have $75, you can pretty much pause this video at various points and get the whole document this way. But again, this document is not necessarily, I have lots of nuances I talk about in the course, but helping your JV partner. Anyway, I have lots of stuff in here that I think I wish people knew when they were collaborating with me, and what I've learned over time about this kind of stuff. So there it is. That's the content. I hope that helps, Tad.
Yeah, thank you, George. It's and we hadn't talked about this in advance, but if anyone buys it, I'd be happy to give my ebook Hub Marketing, which is a 200
awesome.
just as a bonus, just as my gift to anyone who wants to sign up. This link is my way of saying thank you, but also is supporting you with the Hub Marketing piece. And this is just so important. And this kind of chance to get the feedback from George around this is really big, because I've seen so many people intellectually know they should be doing this, and then there's like a little hangnail something where they get stuck, and then they just never do. So this is a big deal. And when George said it's $75, and well, if you get a few, that'll pay it off. No, if you get one, it will pay you 10 times what you paid for this. And that's not even just a pitch for this, but just a pitch for Hub Marketing and focusing on this partnership. I mean, whether you ever work with me or George or buy any of our stuff, this is, I said cold marketing is 10 to 1. The Hub Marketing is at least a 1-to-1 ratio of effort to reward. And then the more you do it, the steeper that gets. At the Hub level, when you become a Hub, that hot level, 1 unit of effort, 10 units of reward. This is just every hour that you invest learning about and practicing and thinking about this, how to create collaborations, saves you 10, 100 hours down the road. It sounds like hype and exaggeration, but I think of first workshop I ever did in Ottawa. I'd never done a workshop there before. I had no discernible following there. I spent about 3 hours, and I got 2 workshops with 60 people each, so 120 people total signed up. How? Because I was hosted by somebody who was a local Hub. So when I say that this is, I would have gotten 10 people probably on my own. So we're talking 10, 12 times the response. So when I say 10 times, I get it can land like hype. But I'm just,
it's not hype, man.
This is very real.
Yeah, I mean, so this is why, and I'll get to the questions right after this, but this is why I consider this an ongoing activity. And I was just about to say, in the first couple of years of my business, when I had nothing, no audience, no contacts, I used collaborations to get going, to kind of build an audience and build a business. And then what happened was I got kind of spoiled by all the business I had through collaborations, and I kind of stopped doing collaborations for a few years. And then my business started going down again. And then in the past couple of years, I was like, my God, why did I stop doing that? There's no reason to stop. No matter how beginner or how advanced we are, we can always be collaborating with other people, because all the other reasons we learn quickly when we can collaborate with other people. Like whenever I work with Tad, I learn so much, and we learn from each other, and everybody benefits. Like Tad's audience benefits, I benefit, he benefits, and so I consider this an ongoing activity, and this is my challenge for all of you. I encourage you to do 1 collaboration per month.
That's a great idea.
Or more. I actually try to do 1 a week. I don't always get there, but like I said, the collaborations can be simple as clarifying conversations with somebody else, which you can do, every week. But once a month, you try to do some kind of co-interview or some kind of product trade or something like that. You will be great. You will be you'll grow. So let me answer some of the questions.
Mhm.
About the course, again, georgecow.com/JVTAD. Don says, hey, what are the dates? It's been recorded already. So you can, when you sign up today, anytime that you see this, you will get the recordings right away. You'll get access to 2 of my bonus Q&A calls coming up, which I do them every month. I do bonus Q&A calls every month. So whenever you sign up, you're just going to get the bonus Q&A calls coming up. And one thing I forgot to say was you also get access to the course directory, which is maybe one of the more valuable things about the course. Is, guess what? Everybody who takes this course is getting educated about how to do collaborations well. And so who do you want to be collaborating with? People who are like, okay, this is how you do it thoughtfully. This is how you do it, gracefully, graciously. So we've got a course directory of a couple dozen people already who are like, hey, let's collaborate in some way. So that's one of the great things about it. Okay. So, and Tad, you can jump in anytime you want to say anything.
Sure.
But
Well, Don had the question,
Mhm.
how to reach out to them. So Don, I know you've
Yes.
been in this game a long time, and so I'm just going to ask you to see if you can hone that question a bit more. Let us know where it is specifically that you're stuck in terms of the reaching out to them,
Okay.
and
Yeah,
then
that's a good
we'll
idea.
answer that question. And then, okay, the jewelry piece. So you said I've offered pieces of my jewelry, this from Xenia, to various celebrities. I now want to ask if they'd be willing to take a photo while wearing the piece. Any advice? Oh man,
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to plead the fifth on this one. It's a tricky thing because there is no. They probably get this a lot. They probably just get this constantly. Um, and this is again the how high up. This is where the list size actually becomes significant. Giving it to like a local celebrity in your town, like the person who does the news or entertainment reporter or local musician, that's going to be a lot more accessible. But if you send it to Brad Pitt, I would just say I have no ideas for you. I just don't know how that works, other than luck. Because so, I mean, I would just say the bigger the celebrity is, the more they get asked for favors, which is just all the time, constantly, and they get gifts all the time. So I don't think it's anything particularly exciting for them. And if you give them a gift, like I had this happen, and this is even at a similar level. There's a woman that came to my workshop in Vancouver. She'd written a book around kind of shamanism and such, and she gave me this. I just want you to have a copy of the book. And I got probably 3 follow-up emails saying, hey, have you read it?
Oh,
And would you
wow.
be willing to write a testimonial for it or something, is promote it. And I just thought, you didn't give me a gift. You gave me a burden. You gave
Yeah.
me a job to do.
Right.
And one email would have been fine, but then the other 2. So there just wasn't much of a relationship. And it was a strange thing because I don't teach shamanism. It's not
Right.
on, it's not on brand. It doesn't fit with what I'm doing. It's not like I mean, on a personal level, I have some interest in this, but I didn't see the fit.
Right.
Um, and a whole book, that's a big ask. That's a real big ask.
Yeah.
If she'd sent me a video of like her TED talk, a 20-minute thing, maybe I would have watched that, but a book's a big thing. So anyways, just, those are my thoughts there.
That's great. So, I mean, these days, celebrities online are called influencers, right?
Right.
So Instagram is the popular place where influencers are. You might have known, I mean, those of you who are on Instagram know what I'm talking about, but those who are not on Instagram, there are people on Instagram who, you know, pose with different products because they've already built an audience for some, maybe their personality is really attractive, or maybe they talk about, they have some skill that they teach on Instagram, or they have cool photos or whatever. And then occasionally, once they build up an audience, people, say, hey, could I pay you? So
Yeah.
Xenia, not only are people sending them gifts, people are paying them to pose with products. And of course, if they pay them, then not only are they're going to pose with it, they're going to actually talk about, oh, this jewelry, or this book, or this whatever is I'm going to endorse this book. Yes, I am. It's one of my
Yeah.
sponsors, And that's very normal. YouTube is the same way. YouTube, people build up an audience, and then they have people approach them about product placement and product sponsorships, endorsements. So it's very common. And so what I would recommend, Xenia, is start commenting on, like, if there are certain influencers on Instagram or on Twitter or on YouTube or on Facebook that you're like, you know what, they have an audience who would probably love my jewelry.
Mm-hmm.
The first step is to comment on some of their stuff, and to have your comments stand out, because most comments, as we know on Instagram, most comments are like right on or fire, or like just one-liners or a couple of emojis, heart, 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 or whatever. If you comment and say, that's a great photo because blah, 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 or that's a really great Instagram live or Instagram IGTV video because of blah, 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 then you instantly stand out. Not maybe to the celebrity, maybe to the influence, but you stand out to everybody who's watching that video or who's looking at that photo, right? So, so it's ironically, sometimes you don't even need to reach out to that influencer. If you get active in their comments section and become one of the most contributory people in the comments, all their audience is like looking at you now, like going to your profile and seeing what you're about. So ironically, sometimes you don't even contact people. You just show up as being super supportive. Tad, do you have anything to say about that?
Yeah, I do. Some further thoughts on this. One is, I wouldn't ever send something to someone where there probably hasn't already been some agreement.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so much work goes into the jewelry. I imagine then to send it, and go into the netherworld. So to me, it could be one of those things where, as George is saying, you comment, maybe you get some conversations going. Maybe you send them a direct message or two that's just appreciative, that's not asking for anything. Just like, hey, I just think you're really brave for saying the things you're saying, or I really admire the way you do this thing. And then, I mean, you don't need to, but then I think it does sweeten the approach a bit if you do that. And then you say, look, I don't, this is real key wording, and this is gold. This will seem like nothing, but this is gold that I'm giving right now. You would say, look, I don't know if this is a fit, but I've got this jewelry. I don't know if it's a fit for your audience. I think they might really like it. I'm not sure, but here's a link. So that those softeners of I'm not sure, I don't know if it's a fit, that takes so much of the pressure out of it. Because otherwise what it sounds like is, hi there, I've got this jewelry that I'm pretty sure your people would love. Can I send you a sample? It's a pitch. Versus you just want to convert, like, I have this, I don't know, I think so, because of these reasons, maybe. I don't know if people ever send you things. Would you be willing to, if you like it, I can send you a link, and if you like it, maybe you'd be willing to share it with your people. No pressure on this. I'm sure you get this all the time. All those little softeners help. But as George is saying, this question of fit is a big deal. If it's just, well, I have a kind of generic jewelry and I'm going to try to flog it to generic celebrities, just stop. But if you have a particular style or aesthetic, and then you've come across an influencer who shares that style or aesthetic. I mean, let's say there's an eco angle to what you're doing, and then people have an eco angle to what they're doing as an influencer. Or let's say you have a certain African or South American slant to your jewelry, and this influencer has that slant in their work as well. You see what I'm saying? Then there's just a natural fit. So that's a big deal, because then they're going to have a natural draw to it and say, ooh, I really like this. Or you just notice, the style they wear is very similar to your style. Great. So if you notice there's a fit, you can lift up and point out, here's where the fit, and then approach in a humble way of, hey, I don't know. And then if they say, yeah, well, hey, I'd be open to that. And then you just have some pre-written text or some very clear sense of, well, here's what I usually do in this situation. Is I can mail you something, and then the deal is in the next week or 2 weeks, you just post once and you use these hashtags, and I can even give you the text that you can use, to basically cut and paste and put in Instagram just to make it easy for you. That kind of thing. So it's practical things. And so there's a lot in this that may seem like it's just about this jewelry example. That's about a lot of other examples. The softeners that you can use that take no pressure, here's the pre-written text that you can use to share it. All of that makes it so much more likely that it's actually going to happen.
I love it, man. It's great. I think you're such a pro, Tad, at communicating in a very thoughtful way. So it really is gold, that those kinds of approaches. And it's something that we actually would do if we kind of reconnected with our humanity. You know what I mean? Like reconnected with
Right.
relationship. It's like a lot of times when it comes to marketing, we get so scared. We get so, I don't know, not human, like not how we usually are. I call it authentic marketing, but it's
Yeah.
like, if like I see marketing as creating friendships.
Mm.
Certainly collaborations is that way, but just with our audience, like we're just creating friendships, just how would we treat a new friend? That's all. We wouldn't treat a new friend like, hey, read this book, give me a testimonial. I was like, what? Who are you? Like, what? So, yeah.
Well, let me just be a friend to everyone who's listening in on this right now. You can do better than you are on your questions. Some tough love for you. I just don't believe that you're not stuck somewhere if you're on this call.
Yeah.
This
Yeah.
is
And
time. We've got about another 18 minutes.
yes, let's do this. There are a couple questions that I
Okay.
didn't get to yet, but let's get to it. Don, we'll get to yours next. Which ones to choose? I want to get to
Mm.
haven't got a chance to talk with John yet. And John says, this is the first where I've really been thinking about it. I need helps with ideas for where to look for collaborators. Great. So actually similar question to Don, which ones to choose, or which ones to choose. That's a separate question, but let's talk about where to look for collaborators first. Like I said, the course itself has a whole list of ideas that you can start going through step by step. But John, let me ask you this. Have you been following anybody on social media or via email list who are kind of thought leaders in your niche or related niche? So for example, that person who reached out to Tad about, oh, I do shamanism, here's a book.
Yeah.
That is not a related niche because Tad does marketing, shamanism. It's not related. If Tad were doing some kind of personal development stuff or some kind of spiritual growth thing, yeah, of course that makes sense. But so John, let me ask you this. Let's start there. And if there are people you follow, I'm going to give you a very simple rule on which ones to choose to reach out to. I would say anyone up to 10 times the audience size.
Mm.
And it's simple rule. So if you have 100 audience members, email list subscribers, Facebook fans, maybe look for people with up to 1,000. And the thing about Facebook or social media is that it's easy to see what their audience size is, at least on the surface, because you have to then look at what their engagement is. Let's say I've seen lots of Facebook fan pages with 10,000 fans, but then they post stuff and like nothing happens. Like
Yeah.
one person likes it. That's not a real audience. But so organically, I just want to say on Facebook pages, organically, you can expect somewhere between 3 to 10% of their audience should normally like or comment. Likes, let's just use likes. So if somebody has 1,000 Facebook fans, they post something, I'll be conservative, I'll say between 1 and 10%. So they post something, 1,000 fans, they should get somewhere around at least 10 likes on things organically if it's an engaged audience. And if it's less than 10 likes, just count it as, okay, they're getting usually 5 likes, then their audience is not really 1,000, their audience is more like 500. You see? So that's a simple way.
Yeah. And John,
Yeah, go
yeah,
ahead.
if you could fill us in a bit about what you do,
That'd be
because where
helpful.
you find your niches, it's everything to do with, or where you find your hubs and partners.
Yes.
It's all about your niche. So that would be very helpful to know.
Yeah.
Other questions?
So which ones to choose? So Don, let us know what you mean by which ones to choose. Like, can you give us examples of 2 of them? Let's say, like, well, should I choose this one or that one, or where are you wondering about in terms of which ones to choose? Okay, so John says teaching emotional intelligence to tech people. Great. Tad, does anything come up right away, or you want me to?
Well, a little follow-up question there, but so teaching emotional intelligence to tech people.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Okay, so why do they need this? Where are they struggling? But the other question, John, for you is, okay, imagine this, John. You're in a room full of 100 people who are all tech people, yeah? And you only get to pick 10 of them. what would you be looking for in those 10 to make them the most perfect fit? You're going to have to let go of 90 of them. So you only get 10 who are going to be the exact right kind of client for you. Yeah.
Mm.
So what can you tell us about them? Either the nature of their issue or the other kinds of things they're into.
Yeah,
They're not.
it could be a particular industry of tech. It could be a particular level there are in the
Yeah.
organizations. Um,
Because I mean, to me, with the emotional intelligence, is this with their coworkers? Are they struggling with dating? Is this with their marriage at home? Is this with their kids? Is it? There's that kind of wondering because it could be different hubs for each of those. And then, are they, for example, are they right wing or left wing politically? Are they um, vegetarian, vegan? Are they new agey? Are they, are they? There's a lot of ways to say this. Drawing it. Oh, Don's saying, okay. So yeah, so these are the, you start to see the clearer the niches, the clearer we have a sense of who it is, the hubs and the partners will come easily. We can give you broad advice on where to find hubs. I gave a list earlier about, events, groups, all that. You can rewind and watch, um, but that's just generic. The specific ones are going to come from the specific niche or who you're trying to reach out to.
yeah. Yeah, and I guess a general question to ask John, to brainstorm on is, once you have identified, and by the way, it's really helpful if you know actual people who are, and maybe you already have some previous clients or some potential clients or even friends of yours who are like that kind of person, like that's the kind of person you're trying to help. The question to ask for me is, what content do they consume? Like, where are they getting
Yeah.
information, right? Like let's say
Yeah.
Bill is one of your ideal clients and he's a friend of yours. Hey Bill, what do you listen to podcasts, or do you watch YouTube? If so, which channels? Or do you subscribe to any news? Hey Bill, do me a favor real quick. Can you open your email right now, Bill? And like tell me which newsletters you've actually opened. Huge clue on what are the hubs that Bill is connected to, right?
Yeah, it's good. Other questions you can ask for hubs are just, where do they spend their money before they come to you and after they
Love it.
come to you?
Yes.
Can be very practical. And just, where do they hang out? Where do you find these people? Where do they? Three other questions: where do they spend their time? Where do they spend their money? Where do they spend their attention?
I love it. Yeah.
These are three different ways you can look at it.
And then another simple question is, what do they share on social media? Like I said, if you were friends with Bill, you could say, oh, Bill shares articles from this magazine. Oh, Bill shares a video from this influencer or thought leader, or Bill shares a link to this organization or company. Oh, well, obviously that thought leader, that influencer, that company has Bill's attention. So that company or that thought leader could be someone you approach, or it could be companies or thought leaders like that, in that category, right?
So Don's put some more info here.
Yeah. Don says, I'm moving into a subscription membership model with a focus on student herbalist to practitioner, professional. And he also asked, is it good to explore people who share your posts? Well, yeah, I mean, people who share things, they're like their own hub, right? Like they're like their own, sometimes they're a big hub, sometimes they're a mini hub. Sometimes it's just this person likes to share posts and they regularly get a couple dozen of their Facebook friends to comment on things. Or, well, they're a hub. They're a hub. They're just a small hub. And but their audience might be bigger than you think. But yes, it's an interesting point to look at who's sharing your posts. Yeah.
Yeah, it makes me think that is something, not that I've done this, but you could certainly look at, people who follow your page, who are the fans or the super fans or whatever they say.
Yes.
And these are people who are really into what you're doing. And, if things were slow for me, I could absolutely just see sending them a message saying like, hey, you've been a fan for so long and I'm curious, tell me more about who you are and what you do. And you never know, there could be partnerships. And it's not to knock these micro hubs. We did a fundraiser for a group called the localgood.ca in Edmonton that I co-founded like 12 years ago now. And we had, and for our 7th year, we had a fundraiser. And the basic model, this is the Hubs model, and it's all credit to a website, benevon.com, benevon.com. It's an individual giving fundraising model. And so the idea is, instead of just a broad invite, please everyone come to our fundraiser, you pick people who you think are well connected and well respected in the scene, who could fill a table of 10 people. Yeah. People who'd be excited, who love what you're up to.
That's how Pachamama does it too. Pachamama Alliance. Yeah.
Well, and it's from the model. It's Terry Axelrod, who's there's a whole backstory, and I know the people involved.
Okay.
But so you would commit as a hub to fill a table, but it was interesting because when we got to the day, we had about 200 and something people there, and some of the people who I thought for sure would have no problem filling a table had two guests.
Wow.
And then one woman who I just thought, well, she'll bring a friend, had 20 people. So you could, it's very, I mean, of course you want to be strategic but just to know that you can't always guess which are going to be the best hub. And sometimes these micro hubs, they're so untapped. Nobody's ever gone to them formally, and if you notice they share your stuff and they seem to get a lot of engagement, you might just reach out and say, would you want to host a call for your people? Like just for your folks?
Yeah.
Because they may be in a real position to do it, because nobody reaches out to them. So I wouldn't build a whole business strategy on it, but I don't know if I would knock it as a business strategy either, because some of these people, she didn't even know herself she could get 20 people there. Right. So it's just, it's worth considering.
I like that a lot. I like that a lot, because, and you can think of it this way, like if you are going to get clients, you're going to need, if those of you who are doing the client model, or even those of you who sell products like jewelry, you need to spend time talking to potential buyers or potential clients. For the client model, it's called an exploratory call or discovery call, right? And you might spend half an hour to an hour with one potential client talking to them. What if that 1 hour was spent not talking to one person, but 4 people? Even if a micro hub can bring 3 friends together to listen to your teaching or your message, that's more efficient doing a exploratory call with 4 people than with 1 person, right? So, well,
I could even see, you could send a message out to everyone who's your top followers on, Facebook, and just say, hey, I just want to do a call just for you. This is only for my top fans. I'm not telling anyone else about it. Here's the date, and time. If you can make it, let me know. So you could do that. And you could, and this is the important thing. So much of partnership, you're not being self-sufficient about everything. So you can just tell them, look, I could really use some help. So I'm just thinking now, if I were to do it, I might say, look, I've got this mentorship program. I have a few spaces open up, and you've been following me, so you're clearly into my stuff. And I don't know if this program's a fit for you, but here's the link to the sales that are, if you feel drawn, here's the basics, and let me know if you have questions. And also, I've got this program, the Meantime program, coming up in January. And if you have any friends, I'd be really grateful. You can just ask so directly for the favor from these people, and then those people are, again, they're micro hubs, but really well and truly, sometimes the micro hubs can be more effective just because they're so flattered to be asked by somebody they admire. They're so excited to help because they admire you and they want to spread the word. And they're probably not overly inundating their people with joint venture deals and affiliate things. They're not in that way, and so they tend to be listened to a lot.
This is awesome. I love that we're having a conversation here, because Tad's bringing ideas that I didn't even have in my course. And Tad, the fact that you're going to be adding the Hub Marketing ebook is awesome. And so, when you get the course, you get my organized ideas of all the stuff plus Tad's ideas, and this conversation is kind of like a bonus now. I'm going to give to everybody who buys, gets. But I want to thank those of you who have already kind of signed up right on this call. I don't normally do this, but I'm truly grateful. Suzanne and Dawn have already signed up through the link. So I know some of you may have already signed up before this, and I will be sure to send you, I'll get the ebook from Tad. I'll send it to all of you who have already bought through Tad's link. And also, going forward, anyone who buys from Tad's link will instantly get the ebook as well as my entire course. Any other questions about any of this stuff, partnerships, collaborations, hub marketing, anything
Yeah.
before we close?
Where are you stuck? Where are you? I would do it, but I'm not sure how to.
Yeah.
I don't want to screw this up in particular.
Yeah, like I said, like if you make a goal to do one collaboration a month,
Easy.
okay, even well, December is a little tough. I think it was, of any month, I think December is probably the toughest month. But it could even be a simple conversation. You don't have to do any fancy collaborations this month. I like to do everything simple. So it could be it could be a co-interview. That's not too hard to schedule in the first 3 weeks of December, maybe for some people, but certainly January and certainly February and on and on. So if you were to do a collaboration in December or January, start thinking about it. What might you do? Like what could you, and back to John's question of how to find people, chances are you already know people,
Yeah.
like among your friends, your colleagues, classmates, people who have taken classes, you've taken classes with, you could collaborate with. So you would start there, with people you already know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Tad, I want to ask you this question before we close. What can you think of somebody who approached you and you really didn't look at their list, turned out to be a great collaboration? Now you already mentioned earlier about the WordPress person, but is there another collaboration? You've done so many over the years that you're really that you thought was well done. And while I think of it, I'll go first.
Sure.
There was somebody who started following my Facebook posts. He started commenting thoughtfully. And here's the thing, here's another really helpful tip. If you're hoping to eventually connect with somebody to become one of your hubs, that partners, look for where they get the fewest comments on social media. And that is more productive to comment there. So for example, if they get tons of comments on their, like Tad, on your Facebook posts, especially your profile posts, you get tons of comments. Yeah. If I comment there, I'm just another person. Right. Whereas if you tweet, and like Twitter is notorious for it's like putting stuff into a black hole, it's like nobody says anything back. Unless you're famous or unless you use a popular hashtag or unless you're talking about something really hot right now. But if you comment on someone's tweet, oh my God, my one Twitter reply of the day, it's a big deal. LinkedIn is another one. LinkedIn, if you comment on my LinkedIn stuff, I pay way more attention than commenting on my, on my Facebook stuff, because Facebook is where most of my audience is. Same thing with YouTube. When you comment on a YouTube, did you know this? Most people, especially unless they're in the hundreds of thousands or millions of followers, most YouTubers get every comment in their email inbox. I know I do. That's by default. If you comment on a YouTube video, your comment probably is going into the email inbox, and that influencer is probably joyfully opening it and reading it. And that's more special than just another heart on Instagram. So anyway, I was going to say, this person started commenting thoughtfully on my stuff consistently, and then he started taking a course or two from me, etc. And I was like, wow, this guy's great. He really agrees with me. It's always really nice when people agree with you, right? It's like, wow, he really agrees with me, and he has a few thoughts that are contributory. So I started, connecting with him, and now I send so much business to this guy. Because I see him as an earlier version of me. I'm like, why wouldn't I send? You agree with me, and you're really, you're smart yourself. I could see you. It's like, yeah. So you never know as you comment. Like I said, anyway. Tad, is there anyone else you want to say, or anything else you want to say as we close this?
Man, there's a bunch of examples. I do think about Brad Morris with the great ecourseadventure.com.
Yeah, how did he approach you?
Well, we knew each other from way back before. Like he was teaching meditation way before he was doing online
That's
courses.
right. Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
just knew him as a hippie in Victoria. I'd see him around, and just a cool dude. Like he's just one of these super positive,
Yeah.
beautiful people. Every email I get from him uplifts me in some way. And anyway, beautiful guy. And so then he reached out to me, and I knew he probably had almost no list, but I just thought this is a really interesting thing that he's doing. My people need it. I don't have anyone else I refer them to right now, so yeah, okay, sure, I'm game. And yeah, I know there's been a lot of back and forth, and I know he's always recommending me to his people, as someone to go to. So yeah, that certainly happened with a lot of people. Yeah, last thoughts as we wrap up here. First of all, thank you everyone for coming. Hopefully this was useful in some way. George's, if all you did when you left here was you just thought once a month, I'm going to figure out some way to collaborate with somebody in a way that could be a win for both of us and a win for both of our people, your business could be almost unrecognizable in a year if you really focus on this. Because so many people, and it's just so easy to get into the grind, as George said, and then it just kind of starts going down, down, down. It can be a huge difference in the trajectory, like over a year by doing this, because all it takes is one or two really good collaborations. And you can get to the end of the year and think, well, I don't know if it made that much of a difference, but do the math on it. If you think, well, wait a minute, I got 2 clients from this person, 3 clients from this person, and 4 from and 1 person, and then you start to think, well, wait a minute, what's the lifetime value of these people? We're talking, it's often tens of thousands of dollars, or at least thousands of dollars. So if you just one a month, this is easy. If I were going to give another one, just in addition to that, try once a week. So 4 times a month, roughly. Once a week, just reach out to a new hub just to talk, just to have the exploratory conversation.
Yeah.
If you just once a week have a conversation with a hub, once a month, actually do some active partnership with a hub. I mean, this is a really, really solid approach. And damn, so many people, I know I talk about this in my workshops and people say, oh, that's a great idea. And probably most don't do it. But my God, it seems like more effort. It seems like it's easier to just try to get a client. Yes, that's a little bit more effort to do the partnership thing, but the partner may be a source of dozens of clients over time.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, I would always rather talk to a hub or potential hub than a potential client. Like, a lot of you are like, oh, I wanted to have more exploratory calls but exploratory calls with potential hubs will bring
Yes.
you multiple clients or dozens of clients.
So interesting. I mean, I don't do any of the free discovery calls. I just, not my thing. Other people do. I'm not knocking it, but I'm just saying, yeah, if you have limited time, if you have 5 hours a month to do those exploratory calls, I would hands down, if I had to bet $1 million on which was going to bring you the most money and you the most clients, it'd be the calls with the hubs, not with the client. To me, it's so obvious because
it's not only logical. It's been my experience, and this is why I consider it as I call it like one of the disciplines of business. Like I consider it like a fitness thing. Like, if I'm not exercising, of course I'm not going to stay fit. Same thing with business. It's like, if I'm not collaborating, I'm not going to have a business that's human and that's growing. It's like both human and growing, because when you like are so working on your own and just SEO or just Facebook ads, right, it could become you kind of lose touch with, okay, this person is doing this and has an audience who needs that. It's much more, anyway. So yeah. I think you all get the point. Thank you so much for being here. If you want to get the full course, I would be honored, and you get Tad's Hub marketing book. You'll be supporting Tad as well. And the link is www.georgecow.com/jvtad. If you don't know, just comment below, or I'll be sure to put the link in the Facebook video as well, or email me, contact me. Thank you so much, Tad, for doing this collaboration. And I really appreciate all the work that you do.
You too. Take care, everyone.
All right. Take care. Bye-bye.